issues concerning police conduct. And it would help if I turned on the overhead and dim the lights. I don't know if you guys were here, you saw the security officer come by a little while ago. Those of you that were here early. I was asking him why this door is always locked and that little rubber thing that's in there. He finally explained all doors are locked for the active shooter response. That if for something were to happen, just take the garbage can out of the way, close the door. Automatically locks from the inside. You cannot open it from the outside without a key. That little rubber thing, it's in lieu of the garbage can. So if we ever have a real cold day, we can move the can out of the way, push that rubber all the way out, and it keeps the door from closing all the way. So if you step out to use the bathroom, you should be able to come back in without having to knock on the door and be disrupted. Okay, so that's what was going on there. As always, it gives you the objectives for the chapter, but these are publisher's objectives. So we're really not going to focus on these, but they're there. Okay, discretion. We've talked about officer discretion in the past. And I've told you that that's why officers get paid as well as they do. It's for that discretion. Okay, the freedom of an agency or individual officer to choose course of action. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you not going to do? Low discretion versus high discretion situations. The scenario I gave you was a motorist. You pulled them over. She's got kids screaming in the back seat. Their security fastened to their car seat, so that's not an issue. You can tell she's having a bad day. She's stressed. You ask her, what's her hurry? She's doing 40 and I don't know, let's say 25. So she's speeding. What's your hurry? My youngest child is sick and I'm late to the doctor's appointment. Yeah. Clearly she's broken the law. You're the officer. What are you going to do? That's the discretion part, Myron. What are you going to do? Are you going to cite her? Or are you going to do something different? What would you do, Myron?
I'll just give her a warning.
Give her a warning? Tell her slow it down? Okay, who would cite this woman? Actually give her a citation for speeding. Just me again. Must be a bad guy. I'll write her up in a heartbeat. And slow down. My kids are out there playing. I don't want you running them over. I know you got issues, but that's a you problem. Not worried about me, my kids, your kids. Slow it down. Have a good day. Get her a ticket. Just me? Okay.
No, I probably would too, because it depends on what I observed at the time I'm following her. If she's not stopping at intersections, she's blowing through red lights, then no.
And 40 and a 25.
Yeah.
It's your discretion. If you choose to write her up, great. If you choose not to, that's okay too. That's what you get paid for, to make those decisions. What are you going to do? Here's a video. Melvin Russell, some of you probably already know him, but he's very interesting and he loves being an officer.
I have been a police officer for a very, very long time. And you see these notes in my hand because I'm also a black preacher. And if you know anything about black preachers, we'll close and then we'll keep going for another 20 minutes, amen? So I need us to keep pushing this thing forward. So I've been a police officer for a very, very long time. And I mean, I predated technology. I'm talking about before pagers. Laugh if you want to, but I'm telling the truth. I predate war on our fellow man. I mean, war on drugs. I predate all that. I predate so much, and I've been through ebbs and flows, and I've been through good and bad times, and still I absolutely love being a police officer. I love being a police officer because it's always been a calling for me and never a job. And even with that, my personal truth is that law enforcement is in a crisis. It's an invisible crisis, and it has been for many, many years. Even though we in law enforcement say, you know what, we can't arrest our way out of this. We say in law enforcement things like, yeah, it's illegal to profile, and you know what, in law enforcement, we even agree that we have to adopt this thing and become more oriented to community policing. And yet all the while, still, we continue in the same vein that contradicts everything that we just admitted. And so that's the reason for me several years ago, because I was tired of the racism, I was tired of discrimination, I was tired of the isms and the schisms. I was just so tired. I was tired of the vicious cycle, and I was tired of it even in a beloved agency, in a department that I still love today. And so my wife and I, we sat down and we decided and we targeted a date that we would retire. We would retire and I would go off into the sunset, maybe do ministry full time. Love my wife a long time, y'all know what I'm talking about. But we decided that I would retire, but then there was a higher power than I. There was a love for the city that I loved, that I grew up in, that I was educated in. A city that pulled my heart back into the system. So we didn't retire. We didn't retire, and so what happened was, over the next couple of, I would say 18 months, 19 months, I had this passion to implement some radical policing. And so now, over the next 19 months, I shifted, and I transcended from being a drug sergeant, ready to retire as a drug sergeant, and went from level to level to level until I find myself as a district commander. District commander of the worst district in Baltimore City. We call it the Eastern District. The most violent district, the most impoverished district. 46% unemployment in that district. National rating at that time. National rating, the AIDS and the tuberculosis was always on the top 10 list for zip codes for cities across the nation, or just zip codes across the nation. The top 10. I didn't say state, I didn't say city, that little neighborhood. And I said, you know what? We got to do something different. We got to do something different. We got to think radical. We got to think outside the box. And so in order to bring change that I desperately wanted and I desperately felt in my heart, I had to start listening to that inner spirit. I had to start listening to that man on the inside that went against everything that I had been trained to do. But we still did it. We still did it because we listened to that inner spirit. Because I realized this, if I was to see real police reform in the communities that I had authority over for public safety. And so we had to change our stinking thinking. We had to change it. And so what we did is we started to think holistically and not paramilitarily. So we thought differently. And we started to realize that it could never be and never should have been us versus them. And so I decided to come to that intersection where I could meet all classes, all races, all creed, all color. Where I would meet the businesses, and I would meet the faith-based, and I would meet the eds, the meds, and I would meet all people that made up the communities that I had authority over. And so I met them and I began to listen. See, police have a problem. Oftentimes we want to bring things into the community. We want to come up with these extravagant strategies and deployments, but we never talk to the community about them. And we shove them into the community and say, take that. But we said we got to get rid of that stinking thinking. And so we started talking to our communities and said, you know what, this is your community tip. We're going to pull up a chair and we want to hear from you. What's going to work in your community? And there's some great things started to happen. So here's the thing. I had to figure out a way to shift 130 cops that were under my tutelage from being occupiers of communities to being partners. I had to figure out how to do that. Because here's the crazy thing. In law enforcement, we have evolved into something incredible. Listen, we have become great protectors. We know how to protect you. But we have exercised that arm so much, so very much. If I was a natural police department, and I represented the police department, you will see this incredible, beautiful 23-inch arm. Man, it's pretty. It's cut up. No fat on it. It look good. It just look good. That's a great arm. Protection. That's who we are. But we've exercised it so much sometimes that it has led to abuse. It's led to coldness and callous and dehumanized us. And we've forgotten the mantra across this nation is to protect and serve. Y'all don't know that? Protect and serve. So you look at the other arm and then you look at it and there it is. You know, it's kind of weak. It looks sickly. It's withering and it's dying. Because we've invested so much in our protective arm. But we forgot to treat our communities like they are our customers. Like they're our sons and our daughters, our brothers and our sisters, our mothers and our fathers. And so somehow along the way, we've gotten out of balance. And because we are a proud profession, it is very hard for us to look in the mirror and see our mistakes. It's even harder to make a change. And so, as I try to hurry and get through this, I need to say this. It's not just law enforcement, though. Because every one of us makes up a community. Everybody makes up a community. And as communities, can I say this? We have put too much responsibility on law enforcement. Too much. And then we have the audacity and the nerve to get upset with law enforcement when we take action. There's no way in the world that we, as a community, should be calling the police for kids playing ball in the street. No way in the world that we should be calling the police because my neighbor's music's up too loud, because his dog came over to my yard and did a number 2 and a number 1. There's no way we should be calling the police. But we have surrendered so much of our responsibility. So much of the, listen, when I was a little boy coming up in Baltimore, and listen, we played rough in the street. I ain't never seen a police come and break us up. You know who came? It was the elders. It was the parental figures in the community. It was those guardians. It was that village mentality. They came and said, stop that and do this and stop that. We had mentors throughout all of the community. So it takes all of us. All of us. And and when I say community, I'm talking about everything that makes up the community. Even, listen, because I'm a preacher, I'm very hard on the churches. Because I believe the churches too often have become MIA, missing in action. I believe they have shifted over the last 10, 20 years from being community churches where you walk outside your door, around the corner, and you're in church. They shifted from that and they became commuter churches. And so you now have churches who have become disconnected by default from the very community where they're planted. And they don't take care of that community. I could go on and on, but I really need to wrap this up. Community and policing. We've all lost that precious gift, and I call it relational equity. We've lost it with one another. It's not somebody else's fault. It's all of our fault. We all take responsibility in this. But I say this, it's not too late for all of us to build our cities and this nation to make it great again. It is never too late. It is never too late. You see, after 3 years of my 4.5-year commandship in that district, 3 years in, after putting pastors in the car with my police, because I knew this, it's a little secret, because I knew this, it was hard to stay a nasty police officer while you're riding around with a clergy. You know, you be getting in and out of the car, looking to your right, talking about, Father, forgive me for I've sinned all day long. You can't do it. You can't do it. So we came up with some incredible initiatives, engagements for our community and police to build that trust back. We began to deal with our youth. We began to deal with those who we consider on the wrong side of the fence. We knew that we had an economic problem. So we began to create jobs. We knew that there was sickness in our community and they didn't have access to proper Medicare. So we partnered up. We got to that intersection. We partnered up with anybody that wanted to partner with us and talked about what we needed holistically, never thinking about the crime. Because at the end of the day, if we took care of the needs of the people, if we got to the root cause, the crime would take care of itself. It would take care of itself. And so, after 3 years of a 4.5-year stint, we looked back and we looked over and found out that we were at a 40-year historical low. Our crime numbers, our homicides, everything had dropped down back to the 1970s. And it might go back further, but the problem is we only started keeping data since 1970. 40-year crime low. So much so I had other commanders call me, hey Mel, what you doing, man? What you doing? What you doing? We gotta get some of that. We gotta get some of that. And so we gave them some of that. And in a short period of time, the city went to a 30-year crime low For the first time in 30 years, we fell Baltimore City under 200 homicides, 197 to be exact, and we celebrated. Because we had learned to become great servers, become great servers first. But I gotta tell you this, these last few years, as much as we had learned to become great proactive police officers and great relationally police officers rather than reactive, these last years have disappointed me. They have broken my heart. The uprising still hurts. It still hurts my heart because truly I believe that it should have never happened. I believe it should have never happened if we were allowed to continue along the vein that we were in, servicing our community, treating them like human beings, treating them with respect, loving on them first. If we continue that vein, it would have never happened. But somehow we went back to business as usual. But I'm excited again. I'm excited again because now we have a police commissioner who not only talks about community policing, but he absolutely understands it. And more importantly, he embraces it. So I'm very excited now. Listen, I'm excited about Baltimore today because we, as many cities, I believe, shall rise from the ashes. I believe, I truly believe, that we will be great again. I believe, as we continue to wrap arms and continue to say we're in this together because it's just not an intersection. Once we meet, we now got to get on the same path for the same goals. And this city will become great again. This nation will become great again because we have the same goal. We all want peace. We all want respect from one another. We all want love. And I believe we're back on that road. And I'm so excited about it. So listen, I thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time. God bless you all. God bless you.
Okay. Getting people involved, community service, police. It's not where we want to be right now. And there's reasons why police are frowned upon in the community. Some cultures, some communities view them as the villain instead of the support that they should be. He does a good job of just explaining it straight up. This is who we are. This is what we should be doing. We could do a better job, but we need the support of the community. Sarah, which most of you completed, emphasizes this. Getting out, knowing your community. It just makes sense. Unfortunately, there are departments that don't share that same opinion. There are departments, there are locations where they have their hands full. They really can't get out and be proactive. They're too busy being reactive, putting out fires. Hopefully one day they will get to the point where they can be more effective as a proactive police agency. So discrimination, these are some of your key terms. Showing preference, treating individuals, groups differently, disparagingly, just treating people different because of some reason. Could be who they pray to, their sexuality. Doesn't work that way. Disparity, differences between people. There's large disparity financially in our country. We definitely have people that are in the 1%, do very well for themselves. And then we have people in the bottom 1% that don't even know where their next meal's coming from. People dying of hunger. It's ridiculous. We could do a better job of taking care of our neighbor. And Russell said that. Taking care of your neighbor. When you were a kid growing up, if you got a little rough, they didn't call the police. A parent would come out. It didn't have to be your own parent, but a parent would come out. And if you're lucky, all they did was send you home. where I grew up, they'd whip your behind. And then send you home. Or you'd get another whooping when you got there. But you learn. You learn. Gender issues and attitude towards LGBTQ community. Do we treat people differently because they're male or female?
Yes.
Yes. Is that fair? No. I'll argue that it is. We're different. Females are not men. Females are different. Men are different. Children are different. We're all different. Even amongst the same gender, females, you're different than she is. There's no way I'm going to treat her the way I would treat you. Because you're an individual. I'm going to treat you the way you want to be treated. I'm going to show you that respect. Necessarily, I would be offending you if I treated you the way I treated her. We get caught up in these titles because of what's that nasty word? Political correctness. You're afraid to offend someone because they're different. I'm not saying to offend them. I'm saying acknowledge it. Treat that person the way they want to be treated. And if you do that on the street as a police officer, you treat the people the way they want to be treated, you're going to be miles ahead of everybody else. We all want to be treated a certain way. It's your job as the cop to figure that out. And then treat them that way. Regardless of their sexuality. Regardless of the color of their skin. Who they pray to. Shouldn't matter. They really shouldn't. You treat the people the way they want to be treated. Until you can't. I want to be treated with respect. But then I cuss you out. I challenge your authority. So you're still going to sit there and treat me with respect? What would you do? You're a cop. You made a contact. Started off okay. Then all of a sudden it goes sideways. What are you going to do? Excuse me, ma'am, but I don't appreciate you calling me a whole bunch of monkeys. I would gladly appreciate it if you would cease and desist. Of course not. You're human. You treat the person the way they want to be treated until you can't. And that should always be dictated by the person, not yourself. You let them dictate which way this conversation is going to go. Okay. How you're going to react. How are you going to respond? Are you going to let them off with a warning, or are you going to cite them? Are you going to just tell them to move it along, or are you going to arrest them? Based on your observation and their conduct, their behavior. Theirs. Okay. Questions on that? Because that's sensitive. That's sensitive, and I don't mean to offend anyone. That's not my intent. Never is. But my intent is to not tiptoe around sensitive issues. And these are sensitive issues. And if you choose to tiptoe around it, you're not going to be effective. Case in point. Sergeant, I had a female officer. And I had to, I want to make sure I can correct her behavior on the yard, what she was doing. So I called her into the office. As soon as she knew what my intent was, she breaks down crying. She tried to play to my emotions. Thank God I don't have it. I said, no, when you're done, let me know. Here's some tissue. It didn't work. She straightened up just like that. You're a woman. You're a female. You're doing a damn tough job. Why are you playing that then? Sort of knock it off. I'm not going to treat her different than I would treat him in this case. If I'm going to discipline him, I'm going to discipline her the exact same way when it comes to correcting behavior. She tried to play me. As soon as I called her on it, she just laughed. I said, good, now we can get some work done. I saw you do this, this, and this. Don't do it anymore. Knock it off. I said, thank you. That was it. Turned out to be an excellent cop. Ended up promoted. Okay. So you have to control the conversation, course of action, depending on the circumstance, what's happening here. Don't fall into these traps. Class issues are in our society today, in the United States of America, California, Riverside County, right? That's where we're at, Riverside. Riverside County, San Jacinto. Are there classes within your community? You think so? Classes? Yes. Okay, is there an upper class? Upper class? These are the nicer homes, more expensive vehicles. Kids usually go to private schools. If you look at the family, they probably own businesses. They do very well for themselves. Upper class. What about the middle class? What happens there? Who's in the middle class here? What kind of people? Just describe them, not names. Describe what the middle class looks like.
Nice cars, decent home.
Nice cars. Think of your community. Is there a part of town where your middle class lives?
Yes.
Yeah, it's usually well defined. Lower class? Think. Look at the schools. Right? Look at the schools. Look at the kids. Look at the homes. Look at the cars. A lot of these people are on government assistance. Multiple housing. Apartments, complexes, things like that.
Section 8.
Section 8. Okay, so there is classes. Most communities, I can't think of any that I've ever been in, doesn't have some form of class system. Now, you're an officer, you're responding to a crime. You're going to the upper class area. Are you going to behave differently than if you were responding to the lower class area? Damn right you are. These are the people that probably play golf with your boss. Of course you're going to act differently. And if you're sitting, oh no, I'd be, no, of course you would. You'd be a little intimidated. How about the lower class? Now you're responding to a call out in the projects. Probably don't want to be there to begin with. You definitely don't. You don't want to be assigned to that beat, but you drew the short straw, and that's where you're at. You get a call to report to this area. When you get there, are you going to treat the people the same way you treated the people in the upper class? Absolutely not. Okay. When I started this off, I told you, you treat people the way they want to be treated. That's exactly it at work now. You see the differences. When you're responding to certain areas, you're treating people of a certain status. There's an expectation there. It changes as you progress down that ladder of the socioeconomic. That never means you disrespect anyone. To the contrary, the people in the lower class, the homeless, they need your help more than anybody else. You need to be aware of that. Racial issues, that goes without saying. There's certain areas. Think about the classes we just drew. Upper, middle, lower, homeless. Think of the makeup of the upper class. Predominantly what? What type of people are going to live there? White. That's just the way it is. Predominantly white. Middle class? Yeah. Mexican. It's a good mix. You're going to find a little bit of everything there. A lot of Asians, maybe, depending on where you live. That's cool. There's a lot of people. How about the lower, way at the bottom? What are you going to find? Mexican and black, usually. Where I grew up, it was all Mexican and black. The only white people that lived there, I swear to you, they thought they were black. That's where we grew up. That's it. It wasn't until my dad moved us out of that neighborhood that I actually tasted real pizza for the first time. People laughed. It was 7th grade before I knew what a pizza was. Yeah, we had those little frozen things. but an actual pizza in a pizzeria, fresh out of the oven, where the cheese melts. Damn, I didn't know life could be so good. It was good too. Okay, so we moved from the lower class. We lived in the projects. All my friends were either Mexican or black. That was it. And I still remember the white guy's name, Paul Hussey. That was his name, Paul Hussey. He was pretty good. They were all good guys, good people. So we moved out, we moved in, we thought it was a middle class now. My dad sent us to a better school. We wore better clothes. All he wanted was a better life for his family. Sounds like a dream, right? Just about everybody, you want something better for your kids. You need to be aware of these issues when you go into these racially segregated areas. They're not segregated by choice. They're segregated by circumstance. Okay, I didn't choose to grow up in the projects. My parents didn't choose to live there. Circumstance brought us there. We made the best out of it. Never made an excuse. Well, I should be a criminal. My best friend joined the Nuestra Familia. He's dead now. They all ran in gangs. I never joined a damn gang. Didn't want anything to do with it. Because my dad told me. So you don't need that, you be your own man. There's families who don't have a father figure. They have a strong mother. Or don't have a mother, have a strong father. Families vary. In the lower class, you're usually gonna find single parents, broken families. Usually. Doesn't mean they're only isolated to that area. Nowadays, they're everywhere. Middle class and upper class. But they tend to focus more on the lower. True, or am I making this stuff up? It's true, guys. You don't take my word for it, just go walk the street. Go see for yourself what's up there. You're the officer. You have to learn to deal with these people. Avoid charges of racial profiling. You never want to be charged, alleged, that the only reason you gave this person a ticket was because they're a female, they're Hispanic, they're black, they're Asian, they're a Jew, they're on the religion. A female prefers female, so their sexual orientation. That's wrong. You don't do that. Ever. You deal with the facts. And that's the beauty of law enforcement. We're just concerned about facts. And if you're not, you should be. Just the facts. Profiling. Courtney said it was okay. I agree with her. It's okay to profile. Law enforcement, we do that all the time. We're looking for drug dealers on the street. Think drug dealers, guys. We're looking for drug dealers. Now, if I asked you to tell me what vision you see in your mind, what's the image? Don't be embarrassed. Because I got one. It's a minority, usually younger kids. Don't even really know what the heck's going on in the world.
Hispanic, bald,
Hispanic, bald, probably tattoos, affiliated with some kind of a gang.
baggy clothes.
That, pants down here. I like that. I don't get it. They walk like a duck. I told you that, right? Those people with their pants down here. You gotta watch them. It's fun. Racial profiling. It's an evil necessity for you to be effective. Remember, you're only looking for the criminal element. You're not saying that everybody that looks a certain way is a criminal. What you're saying is criminals tend to look a certain way. So you keep your head on straight, you should be okay. Immigration. We're not, I don't think we're talking about illegal. No, we're not talking about illegal immigration here. We're just talking about immigration. These are people that have worked their entire lives to make a better life for themselves and their loved ones. Many come from other countries to the United States, reaching for that golden ring, hoping to be successful. And that's good. That's real good. But it does cause problems for police. We don't know their language. We don't know their culture. I was riding with a Stockton cop years and years and years and years, probably in the 80s. And we were going to this part of Stockton where the government owned all the houses, so it's government housing. And they had the Hmong people, Vietnamese people, live in these homes. So we're driving by, and I'll never forget, this little tiny older lady had the water hose going into her house, into the apartment. And she was washing down the carpet. Washing down, I guess her dog was her daughter, or it could be a sister, I don't know, was sweeping the water. Like, and this is carpeted house, and they're washing it out. They just didn't know the custom that, no, you're supposed to use a vacuum cleaner. I don't know if they eat dogs or not, I'm not gonna go there. But there was a lot of dogs missing in that neighborhood, a lot of reports. Come to find out, I think they do. But I don't know. Okay, I can't prove that as a fact. That was only hearsay. We tried to talk to them. Pull over, talk. You know, you're supposed to use a vacuum cleaner. A vacuum cleaner. You know. And just because you say it louder doesn't mean they're going to understand you. But that's what we would do. Vacuum cleaner. Just like. And that's what they did. They just hold their hands up. Females in particular, but men as well. We have a tendency when we talk to each other in our cultures, we look each other in the eye. Where are they looking when they're trying to talk to them?
Down.
Always down. To look you in the eyes being disrespectful in their culture. And we're sitting there, I'm talking to you, we're trying to get their attention, and we struggle. Until we had officers from that culture train the rest of the staff there. Hey, this is how it works. This is how these people are, their traditions, their cultures. I didn't stay there long. I was only there a week as a cross-training program. But I learned a lot in just that 1 week. You need to be aware of other people's differences, be sensitive to those differences, acknowledge them, and learn to work in a manner that you can both benefit. Both you and whoever it is you're dealing with. They do fear police. Most immigrants. It just depends on their country of origin, where they came from. Most police forces in foreign countries, it's a license to steal. Maybe not even most, but a lot. Pull over motorists just to shake them down. Sometimes even cause them harm. Is Mexico safe to travel right now? Luis knows. When's the last time you were down there?
No.
About a month ago. My niece, I don't know if I told you this, but my niece went down. Her husband lives there. They were living there for years. He's a Mexican kid. And they do pretty well for themselves. They're in a good living. She had come up north to visit her, and I think she had 2 kids at the time, a boy and a girl. She had come up to visit by herself. Drove, I don't know Mexico, but it was way down. Hours and hours and hours into Mexico. So she